Good morning, everyone. I am Quinn Wisson from Vertical Measures. We are a content marketing agency here in Phoenix, Arizona, and I am hosting VM's monthly webinar series. Today's webinar is titled The Conversion Rate Optimization Conspiracy. Are you a believer? And will be presented by our friend from WordStream, Armin Vartanian. Armin has a passion to discover the most powerful tools, trends, and advancements to drive lead generation, conversions, and business development for small and medium-sized businesses in the online marketing field. We're super excited to have him here today. I think we did a WordStream webinar last September, so we must be making this a tradition, which is a great thing. I do have a couple of notes before we get started. Today's webinar will be available for viewing by tomorrow, and we will send out an email to everyone who has attended with a link so you can watch it back again and also review the slides. We'll also be happy to answer any of your questions after the presentation. So if you take a peek at your webinar interface, you will see a little question section where you can send anything you'd like me to ask Armin at the end of his presentation. You can also ask questions via Twitter. We are using a hashtag. It is hashtag VMWebinar. So if you have any problems or any technical problems, I always find it's the best to just sign out and sign back in, and usually that resolves the issue. I think that's all the notes I have, so I will go ahead and hand it off to our presenter from WordStream, Armin.
Alrighty, hello everyone, and thank you for joining us today. I'd like to just thank everybody who put this together from their end. So Quinn up at Vertical Measures, and definitely some people at WordStream here as well, working around the clock here to put everything really together here. And we're really excited just to present this and focus on this topic, the conversion rate optimization conspiracy.
Yeah, and Armin, there is a little bit of feedback on your end. I don't know if that can be kind of cut down, but it's a little bit of a buzzing noise.
Let's see here. We're pretty much, I think, let me just check something out really quickly here.
Okay.
All right, let me know if that's done anything. Is that a little better?
No, I'm still hearing a buzz.
A buzz.
It's a low buzz. But some people
let me
are saying
try
they're not
something else
hearing
here.
the feedback.
Sure. No, thank you. So let me try something else here really quickly.
Okay.
Hello, is that better?
That's perfect, yeah.
All right. Sorry about that, everyone.
No worries. It sounds good now.
Perfect. Awesome. All right. Well, we got a better system here now, so that's already good. And so you can see our conversion rate probably just went up by a couple of percent points. But as I was saying, definitely a big shout out to everybody who put this together, and I'm definitely excited to be here with you. Really, one thing about me, just to kind of give you guys a little heads up, I am at WordStream, and really, my passion is search marketing. So I'm kind of all shapes, forms, and sizes. I love to really dig into the field and find out what's going on. Yes, this includes Bing. Probably some people rolling their eyes, but I've seen some clients do amazing things with Bing as well. So really, digital marketing plus search marketing is the way of the future. I think most marketing happening nowadays is going through that funnel system. And really, I'm passionate in helping businesses as part of the customer success team here as well. Really seeing individuals and businesses realize their potential and do the most that they can. And when I see webinars and I see people talking about the different topics, not only conversion rate optimization, but really a lot of other things, it's a lot of high-level stuff. And I feel like the experts in the field really sometimes sound just disconnected and out of touch. I mean, I don't know if they've been in the trenches, but I'm definitely, somebody who's come from a background of building up businesses and working with them directly. And so I have a passion that's kind of connected to that. And so hopefully we can connect in some of those areas. And just so it's important that I'm going to speak directly to our advertisers, our agencies, anybody else in the field really who joined us today. But as the title says, why do people think it's a conspiracy? Why is conversion rate kind of taken, or conversion rate optimization sometimes taken pessimistically? And I think it all comes down to just the experience that we've had so far with these type of things. When we look at a lot of the ads out there nowadays, there's a lot of promise. We can do a lot, earn up to $150,000 this year. Even if it's December, you probably can still do it. Just click to learn more now. But really, we find out that that's not the case. And we get caught up in a lot of these hacks. We get caught up in a lot of these different really salesy approaches. And, I think it happens a lot with the way that search marketers also speak to the agencies and advertisers. So really my kind of mission is to break through that funnel and just really speak to you guys directly. And really sometimes, if you think about how people present their information, it's more or less I have a great idea to get rich. All we really need is a lot of money, and let's just call it for what it is. So today, I really want to focus on practical things. Focus on things that we can achieve as soon as tomorrow, and that can actually give you some kind of results in your business, in your whatever endeavor you're doing. All right, so is this a thing? Is conversion optimization an actual thing? And I had a really interesting way to go about this, and I was thinking about this and how can I really show this is something that's actually prevalent in your life today. My real thing is that you are doing it already without, even if you realize it or you don't. So one quick example. I type in find a hot date into Google, and how many of you remember the I'm feeling lucky button? Statistically speaking, only 1% of people actually use that button, but that button was there. And the reasons we don't use it is because we're actually conversion optimizing machines. I mean, we like to go through all our options. We like to see what's going out there, and we really want to understand what's going on in the field before we make that decision. And that applies to a lot of things that we do. But, find a hot date, I'm feeling lucky. I just had a feeling that you guys probably wanted to see what the result would come up with. And this is the kind of website that came up. So that would have been like the first result on Google. And say that you were feeling lucky, you would have landed on this page, and that ended up being not clearly the best result that you could have found. So this is the reason why we really focus on conversion rate optimization. I mean, if you landed on something like this, probably conversion rate would be a little bit better if you're in this demographic. And I swear this is not a commercial for mature singles only. Shout out to Noel for that one. But you can immediately see the difference here, right, in the landing page. And we're talking about something that's a lot more personable. And we had to search to find this. So it didn't come up right away. And that's how a lot of our users, that's how a lot of people looking for products or services right now engage the field. And so as I said, conversion rate optimization is applicable to everyday life just as applied to search marketing. I mean, with conversion rate optimization, we can measure, track, and quantify conversion. Using a couple of different tricks and I think methods that I'm going to show you guys today that you can apply as soon as tomorrow. For instance, we can create conversion funnels through Google. We can track on-page click activity. We can understand our target markets and search habits a little bit better by using metrics and tricks, as well as using things like remarketing and advanced search techniques. So really, at the end of the day, you want to be relevant and you want to cover your basics. I think that's super important because we get stuck in a lot of the numbers. We're always looking at increasing conversions. It's a whole bunch of numbers for us, but really we forget what it's all for and really what those numbers mean. Another thing to really keep in mind is what are my conversions? So for some people, it can be very diverse things. For some, it's just leads. For some, it's a sale on a website. It's like a purchase of a T-shirt. Other people want to download something, do some kind of online registrations, really anything. Even a walk into a store. So some people might want people to come visit them, and So really, the amount of conversions you can have and the different type of conversions that can exist out there can be very diverse. Our trick is to really figure out how we can track them a little bit better, and that's really the first step here. But the first takeaway, like I mentioned, is conversions are more qualitative than they are quantitative. And let me kind of break that down for you a little bit. If we're looking at just increasing conversions as a metric, so we're always thinking like, I had 10 conversions, I want to get 100 conversions. It's great, just like talking about click-through rate. Some of my clients, they'll be like, I want to get, I have 10 clicks, but I need 1,000 clicks. And really the thing is, if your conversion rate's not there, you're just spending money, right? All those clicks accumulated to costs, expenses, but they didn't really bring you back money. So did you want those clicks? You didn't. In this case, Tesla burns cash, loses more than 4,000 in every car sold. If you think about that, they were probably focused on selling the car. But with conversion rate optimization, they probably should have been focused on improving their CPA, or cost per acquisition. Now, this isn't always going to be the case, but what I'm trying to really bring you to is the fact that quality is more important than quantity. So if we're looking at just a bunch of numbers on an Excel spreadsheet, that's not always going to give us the full picture. We really understand how much you made from that, and really could we be done better if we put that money somewhere else. And part of this presentation really comes from when I talk to my clients, when I really analyze what they tell me. We always have these conversations, and I think a big part of this deck comes back to really a lot of the stuff that I hear from our advertisers and from our agencies, and some of the maybe conceptions that exist out there. So hopefully people in the audience here today can kind of connect to that as well. So maybe you have some of these questions. Maybe you're thinking, well, I have these metrics I'm looking at, and that's all I see. And you kind of have that funnel vision. But take a step back and just think about what your conversion means to you. How much are you making from it? How much can you potentially make from it in the future? And what does it have an impact on your business? And I'll have a little case example as well that will kind of break that down for you. So kind of give you a little bit better understanding of how you can actually understand and evaluate that. So the first thing that we really have to cover, and this comes up time and time again, is how do we track conversions? And to really understand Crow, we need to ensure that we are tracking properly and tracking the correct thing. I was talking to a client just yesterday whose conversion metrics were tied to him having somebody land on a checkout page. And so he had all these crazy metrics. It was like 30, 40 conversions per keyword, in the last 30 days. And I was just like, this is kind of crazy. Like, how are you achieving these results? And he's like, yeah, well, just if somebody checks out, gets to the checkout page, I track that as a conversion, even if they don't follow through. So in cases like that, and I hope you're not listening, Peter, but if you are, I'll tell you one more time, you want your conversions to be really rooted in something meaningful. So definitely an action, definitely something that's going on that is going to be meaningful for you. But it always comes back to the basics. I mean, when I talk to people, how are you tracking your conversions? And some of this might be kind of really simple for you. And if it is, I do apologize, but I find this comes back a lot. So as I ask people these questions, as I work with them on their conversion tracking codes and really understanding what are you tracking, they kind of don't know. So they just, well, I have Google Analytics. And then you look, and that might be the case, but that might not be the case. And so there's two ways that we can track conversions, is Google AdWords or Google Analytics. And they both have a little bit different functionality. And you might be using one of these, and so this might be good for you to see what the other side looks like. It might be a good time for you to maybe consider adding something or taking something away. But I'm going to break these down for you just in one sec here. So Google AdWords is, in my opinion, more of a pure PPC approach, because this is really rooted back to AdWords. And this conversion code has its advantages, it has its disadvantages. A lot of the advertisers I work with focus on the Google AdWords approach because they don't really have a web developer, they're not so technical, and it's a lot easier to set this up. So the advantage is really easy to set up, don't need a lot of technical knowledge, and intertwine with AdWords already. So these metrics are coming in, you see them in your account. The disadvantages, however, with Google AdWords, conversion tracking code, is that it is limited in how many options you do have, and you only are tracking that conversion page. So you're kind of, cutting out maybe some of the metrics that you could be pulling in from Google Analytics, and definitely some fewer options. For instance, there's no e-commerce tracking that is more prevalent in Google Analytics. So say that you find yourself a little bit kind of short-handed. Google AdWords is probably a really good approach for you. You can definitely get your conversion code, and keep in mind that you have to put the conversion code on the landing page of your conversion. So traditionally we call this like a thank you page, we call this a post-conversion page, but whatever page is going to capture that last step. And I'll kind of break that down as well for you a little bit. Moving forward, I'll break that down a little bit more, but it's a lot more simplistic in that sense. When we dive into Google Analytics, we're talking about more of an SEO and PPC approach. And so I figured I'd throw something out to the SEO guys. You guys probably love Google Analytics. You probably live in Google Analytics. You know the power of all those metrics coming in. Google Analytics goes on every page of your website. And it's really meant to track all the actions, occurring on the website or on the app. There's a couple other options now, so things are getting really technical. But the advantages here is that it's highly customizable. You got really powerful tools, and you track everything. Really, like from how long somebody's on your website to how many pages they visited. Basically, you got all the information. But that comes with its own set of disadvantages. For instance, it's a lot more complex. You got more implementation issues. So beyond looking at those metrics, it can be really confusing. It's a bit harder to implement it because it needs to be on every site, every page of your website, and so some people run into some issues there. And it's also managed outside of AdWords. So if you're focused on PPC and you're getting most of your business through PPC, through AdWords or through Bing, Google Analytics is an extra step for you. However, in my opinion, a much better step forward. So I'll kind of break that down moving forward, and definitely maybe see if you guys would show you some steps on how you can get it onto your website and really use it to achieve your goal. So one case review that came up, and why are conversion codes important? I call this the mysterious case of Benjamin, where are my conversions? You know, it's a Friday evening. I'm about to leave work. It's already like 5 p.m. And I get a call from, you know, a guy in Scotland, and he's one of my clients, and he's freaking out, you know. And based off of his graphs, you know, his conversions dropped from 325 to 75. And when I saw that graph, you know, I was about to go home, but like I said, I'm passionate about the field. I want to see what this stuff looks like. And so I'm like, okay, I'm going to stay here and dig through this. So, you know, we spent like an hour digging through everything. I looked at all his metrics, his impressions, his clicks, his spend. Everything really stayed the same. And I can, you know, I showed these graphs to you guys here so you can look at them. But his conversions just dropped off. And, you know, we spent a good amount of time looking through this. And you know, I thought, here I am, this PPC wizard. I'm going through all these metrics. You know, I'm trying to find that one hook. And usually you can find that one hook. Usually, you know, your impressions drops. You're like, oh, look at that. You know, this happened, or your spend dropped. And you can connect something, you can correlate something. There's no correlation here. Just conversions drop, but everything else remained the same. And so, and I don't know if anybody out there in the audience could guess, you know, what the issue was, but I'm sure some of you guys could probably figure it out. It all came back to checking that conversion funnel. And it's super important because this comes back to those codes again. Without those codes, we wouldn't even have this, but with those codes, we want to make sure that we have it set up correctly. And really, you know, when we check the page, you know, it's kind of funny, but the conversions were not set up right there. And the conversion page, you know, where we were supposed to make that conversion was not being sent to a thank you page. And, you know, in this case, Napoleon Dynamite is telling us, well, yeah, duh. I mean, when you have a problem with conversions, check the landing page. You know, thanks, Napoleon. But, you know, let's break that down. What do I mean by that? You know, when we look at a basic conversion path, we have a click on an ad. So we see something out there. And then we complete a form. And traditionally, when we complete that form, we get sent to a thank you page. And when we hit that thank you page with that Google AdWords conversion code, we track that as a conversion. And so we can only get to that page when we click that submit button. In this case, you know, I would click submit, everything would go, and that lead would actually register, but we weren't being sent to the thank you page. And as I kind of dig through that a little bit, and I talked to him, it ended up being that they made a lot of changes to their website, and around the time that those conversions started dropping off, they had changed a lot of their web pages. Now, when they changed their web pages, they simply forgot to redirect those submit buttons to those thank you pages, but those leads were still coming in. And, you know, I was kind of sitting there kind of thinking, oh, man, I probably should have started this and saved myself a lot of time. But I had to ask that qualifying question. Did you feel such a noticeable difference in your actual real-world business? And that's when you kind of get that real answer. No, I didn't. So it wasn't the issue of conversions, it wasn't really the issue of anything, but it was the issue of implementation, understanding how your conversion codes work. And sometimes, you know, freaking out about the numbers and looking at numbers, but not looking at your business. And, you know, a lot of advertisers, they can get carried away with this. They can look at all that metrics. It's you know, honestly, when the first time I saw Google Analytics, first time I saw Google AdWords, I was pretty blown away by it. I mean, there's so much there. You begin to understand, wow, I can really track everything. But remember, bringing it back to that qualitative approach, understanding what those conversions mean to you, and am I actually getting them or not? And in this case, he was, but those metrics were throwing him way off. And so keep in mind this basic conversion path, that usually somebody clicks on an ad, they go to the complete form, and they go to that thank you page. And we can track all this, like I said, through Google Analytics or Google AdWords, you know, depending on what path you want to take. But there are some ground rules that I think we, you know, beyond the qualitative approach, we have to figure out. And that's, how do I get those qualitative conversions coming in? I think that approach starts from the way beginning. Sometimes we're looking at that landing page and we kind of forget who's on that landing page. How'd that person get there? Who am I targeting really? And this is where I came up with a thing called the crow flow. And hopefully this is something that can be really easily digestible. It's kind of a circular motion there, because at the end of the day, we're spending money and hopefully getting revenue back into our business. The real breakdown here is impressions and clicks. So we have relevant traffic, which is compiled of our impressions and clicks. We then drive traffic or create action through clicks and conversions, and our conversions and our CPA create the value. And I'm going to break these sections into subsections here so you guys can get a little better understanding about that. The real first area that we have to look at is who's coming to my website. If I want better conversions, I need to target better people. As a matter of fact, I need to target the only people that matter to my conversion. And this is where relevant traffic comes in. Some technical terms for people who might not know: impressions is how many times your offer was viewed. And I say offer because I can say ad, but for the SEO people out there, it could be your offer, it could be your link, it could be something else. For traditional marketing people, it could be something else as well. And so your offer is seen. Clicks is how many times you actually drove that click to get to your website. PPC in this case is pay per click, and this is generally associated with Google AdWords or Bing. And SEO, search engine optimization, something that probably most people know about, and it's probably one of the biggest things in the field right now. But combined together, your impressions and clicks need to drive to you highly relevant people. And we get this relevancy by, in the PPC world at least, we cut back on that wasteful spending. We really target our negative keywords. We make sure that we're only kind of approaching our keyword structure to people that matter to our business, who are more likely to convert. This is very important. And as we kind of collect that information about our target audience and market, and we bring them to our website, we get to that next stage. But this really is the critical first step. Once we get them to our website, we have to create traffic. I keep saying traffic, create action. We've created the traffic, but we need to create the action. And this comes down to our landing page as well as a couple other metrics, but really getting those clicks to turn into conversions at this point. Conversions, again, we say it a lot, but for those people who are first time kind of really understanding this field, it's any kind of meaningful action that somebody can take on your website. And we'll cover a couple of those different things, but we also talked about a little bit in the beginning. It could be a call, it could be a lead form, it could be a purchase directly from your website. Relevancy, again, is how we line up our offer with what we see on the web page, and targeting is the people that we're trying to get. Now, if searcher clicks on new 330 Xi BMW sports package, happened to be a car I once owned, really nice one, by the way. They want to land on a page that says great new 330 Xi with sport package and zero down financing, for instance, right? And then click to learn more. So we want to drive that call to action and that action on that page, and to get that conversion, so they have to line up with what people click to what they expect to find. And once we've gone through that funnel, we've got them to click, and we've got them to send that lead to us, and we try to sell them on that lead, we have to make sure that our CPA, in this case our cost per acquisition, is meaningful for our business. And really our return on investment comes back in a positive sense. Thinking back to that Tesla example, they sold a bunch of cars, but they ended up losing money per car. And something that, if we lose sight of this factor, if we lose sight of why we're doing this and what our conversions mean, and really optimizing what we already have, we could end up in that same boat. And so this is really that first stage, I believe, in conversion optimization. We send our money in, and we create that money when it comes back. And that's, I think, like when we, the first qualitative measure into really optimizing our conversion rate. So, the second takeaway from that, however, when we look at relevancy and looking at what we already have coming in, is that we have really two options now. We can either get more conversions, or we simply get better conversions. And I have some kind of, I have some metrics up here, some, very basic math to kind of explain what I mean. If we simply double our conversions in this example, we're going to make that money, we're going to make that profit from $25 to $50. So we've done well there. Increasing conversions, however, can be correlated with some other things, like potentially spending more money, so increasing our budget, or some other kind of marketing effort. However, we also have the option of optimizing our CPA. And if we can optimize our CPA, we can get those same conversions at that same value for our business. And sometimes optimizing your CPA is a much better approach than trying to simply increase the metrics from 5 in this case to 10, from 5 conversions to 10 conversions. Sometimes 5 conversions can be just as good for us if we actually focus on making them better conversions for us. So increasing that relevancy and simply kind of finding ways to spend less to get that same conversion coming back in. So let's really just recap that process one more time. Searcher sees ad or our offer and decides to click through. Once they land, the potential lead observes offer, evaluates information, compares prices and value based on the ad that they saw. And then we really have two roads here. They either convert or they leave the site. Once we've really ensured that our traffic is relevant and we've taken care of that crow flow part of this process, and that our clicks are authentic and ideal for our offer, we have to analyze our landing pages to really find those deeper issues in our account. So once you've kind of cleared that one hurdle, we really hit the bigger hurdle. And this hurdle is something that a lot of people struggle with. I mean, people take their websites religiously. They also take their keyword list religiously. And I have a lot of these conversations. Where's the call to action? Where's the phone number? Where's all this stuff? And people just feel like, they built that website and that's what they have and that's who they are. And really, if it doesn't work, you have to throw it out. But we can analyze that a little bit closer. When I was looking for some of those kind of, common landing page optimization failures, things always come, the same things kept always coming up. And it seems to be the case almost everywhere you look, no matter how you look. This, really kind of basic list here, because you can extend this list endlessly, I feel like. There's so many ways that you can mess this up. But really focus on some of this. Headlines, titles, on-page text, your call to action, maybe some trust issues. As your website doesn't have, SSL on it, but you're trying to sell stuff. What is your offer? Is it easy to understand, or is it kind of really complex? A lot of times navigation issues can come up, technical issues. So my cart is broken. Very basic things. And this is why we check those conversion funnels. This is why, when I had that call with that, person from Scotland, I only found my answer when I actually looked at that landing page. No other metric really mattered at that point until I ran through that funnel. And you know what? I have client after client and time after time when I go through the conversions with them and I try to fill out a form or I even try to buy something, and I'll do that on the phone with my clients. I run into problems and we understand why our conversions don't really line up with what we're seeing versus our traffic and everything else. So, we've compiled a couple examples for you as well for landing pages. And these can be, pretty obvious. Sometimes they might not. And some of you might want to argue me on some of these points, and I definitely like that as well. But I think you'll agree with me more than you won't. Here we have two ads that are next to each other. We have, Company Harbor Cruises, Spirit Cruise in Boston. So we are located in Boston, so we are going to prefer, Boston here for our search. And, say you were looking for that hot date earlier on, and, and you weren't feeling lucky, so you actually went to that good, mature singles website, and you found yourself a nice lady to kind of take out. She's going to have a lot of expectations, so you go for a boat cruise, and you're going to type in boat cruise Boston. Here's back to that optimization factor. Let's see what these two results show us. When we go to that first one, Boston Harbor Cruises, we've kind of got that, I call this really Web 1.0. We've got kind of a really, I would say, shoddy layout. And, the phone number, the contact details are really hit on the bottom. As a matter of fact, there aren't really any contact details, just a phone number. But do you notice how we went straight to the corporate page? Like, that is a red flag right off the bat. And really, where do I do from here? Like, where do I go? I read the text. I probably didn't because nobody likes to read nowadays. All I see is a bunch of paragraphs, and I don't really see what I can do next. I have to really, poke around and find something, and it's just not really that effective. But when we compare it to that second option, it's like night and day. I mean, look at this thing. This boat looks nice. I can take that hot date to this boat. I feel really good about this. But not only that, this page is going to treat me a lot better, simply because I find the information I'm looking for. It's front and center, and I have multiple options to get in touch with the person who's trying to make the sale. So I have a phone number, have a live chat box, and I can find a cruise right away. I'm literally one click away from making an action. As opposed to that other website, I was probably 3 or 4 clicks away, if I even found it. Maybe they just wanted me to call. Maybe I don't like calling. Maybe I just want to see some, stuff on the website. That's why I'm on a website, right? So here's a really great cross-examination. They're both next to each other. And if we follow that logic, she liked the boat cruise. I did really well, but now I really got to up my game. And so we're looking for that online MBA. And, I'm like out there kind of trying to look at those ads on the sidebar that no one ever looks at because I'm trying to be nice. And I found 2 ads next to each other. And I want to test them out. Maybe I want to go to Liverpool. Maybe I want to go to Villanova. And I hit up this really great looking website. I mean, let's be honest. Liverpool, you did well. It's clean. They got the bullet points there. It's easier to read. See a lot of actionable items I can call. But really what they're trying to do is get me to fill out a form. And that's cool too, but, come on, man. Like, I've got a date to go on to today. I can't be filling out these boxes. And God forbid I fill this out incorrectly and I have to try like 10 different ways to put in my phone number just so this form is validated. People don't like long forms. And you know what? People always argue. So I had a client tell me, you know what? I need all this information. And they're technical field. They're in the medical field. They're selling really important machinery. And I get it. You do need that information, but you don't need it off the first engagement with the client. you have to understand you got to build that trust with them. And so this landing page is assuming that this person is just kind of, head over heels about Liverpool. If that's the case, then they could have just had a really bad website, and that person would have still probably filled out that form. But if we're trying to convince people to make action on our website, and we're trying to really convert them, and that's what we're really talking about, right? We're not talking about fanatics. We're not talking about people who are our fans. We're talking about people who are considering us, and they're considering us against our other options. We want the easiest, the path of less resistance in this case. So you might hate me for saying this, but drop this form. Make it really easy. Look, let me show you an example. Let's look at Villanova. They're taking a different approach. It's clean, it's good, the pictures are nice, really easy to read. And we also see what? We see a basic question. Which specialization are you most interested in? Well, that's easy. I know what I want. So, I can easily answer that question. But beyond that, I see there's only a couple steps here. And it's probably going to be a couple steps of just easy questions for me. One by one, I don't even notice I filled out this form. And they got my information, and Villanova is probably where I'm going to go to school. I'm not saying Liverpool's a bad school, but I'm saying that this is how people search. This is how people behave on websites. This is how people generally are. And so you have to understand that. And so that adjustment, stage for a lot of clients when they kind of don't have a website that lives up to that expectation is a struggle, because they have to change their approach. They have to change their approach to people, the way people search. And really kind of, if I could just motivate you guys out there to really kind of get this is, if it's not working, change it. And that's just really all I can say is that if it's not converting for you, find a new approach, kind of swallow that pill, and you'll get a lot better results, and you'll feel a lot better about what you're doing. Now, say that everything went well. I'm in Villanova, had a great boat ride, and we're just ready to take it to that next level. She sees that I'm in school, I was accepted, this is great, I'm going to have an MBA pretty soon, making that money. And so I really want to move in together, so I got to send, my mother out to a nursing home. And I hate to do it, but, I got a life to live. So I don't have a lot of time to spend on this, and I need something that's really easy to, take care of. And I need something that looks really authentic and real. It's my mother, after all. When I go on the first page, of course, we're looking at that Web 1.0 feel. And it's very important to understand that feel is a big way of how people really are going to engage your website and convert. It's really a lot of about feel when they're on your website. But, I see a lot of, about us information here. It's cool. I do need to know that you've been in business for 15 years, but can we do that a little bit different? All I really see is a phone number up top, which, I might call if I didn't do any more searching. So if this was the only thing I saw today and I was really lazy, family, friends, healthcare, you guys got me. But I'm a conversion optimizing machine, and I want to see everything, and I'm going to look at it very quickly. When I go to the next result on that same results page, I have a completely different picture. I see a very friendly picture. It's very clean. It's very modern. But look at all the options I have. A very easy form. So look at them. Four points that they really want from me, and look at that call to action. Get peace of mind today. That's really kind of what I'm looking for, isn't it? But we have beyond that 2 areas where the phone number is listed. So whether I'm looking directly at that screen, whether I want to glance at that full page, I see the number everywhere. I see the easy form to fill out. And this page, if you just kind of look at them both, is much different, but it is definitely much better. And this comparison of landing pages is super important, because when you take it back to what we're working with, that's what you want to be looking at. But of course, we can't really step away from this without first considering what our funnels are, and really just talking about conversion funnels in general, because a lot of this comes back to these type of images, right? So if you guys read our blog, maybe about a couple months ago, we had this ice cream cone come out, and that's part of the way that we look at things when we look at the conversion funnel, or the sales funnel in this case even, is that regardless of how we're looking at getting that lead and getting that conversion, that tip is always going to be smaller. It's a lot harder to get that. And so the cone is the traditional funnel where things, a lot comes in the top and very few comes down the bottom. That's generally how things are. It's very difficult to convert people. But the other image I kind of like for the fact that it's more of a mountain. And if you consider that you're the advertiser trying to get that lead to come to you, and your client's kind of climbing that, they're climbing that mountain, or you're climbing that mountain, whichever way you want to look at it. But the metaphor for me is a little bit better, is that we're trying to get to the top, and it's pretty difficult. It's not so much you just coming through a funnel, really quickly and getting what you can, but you're really trying to convince this person to get to the top with you, that it's worth that, whatever it is, it's worth those steps, it's worth that money, it's worth that, experience. Get to the top with me, get to the top of the pyramid, and it's going to be great. And you're going to be happy that you went with my, my offer, my service. But I broke it down to 3 stages here. The bottom is people already on your website, so they're already there. The middle is where all of that, that action happens. And so the way I break that down is just focus on that mountain kind of perception. We have 100 visitors come in. We have 25 leads that kind of stay, they've filled something out, or they're kind of considering, they're in that shopping cart, whatever it is, they're engaging your website, and only 2 kind of ended up doing something meaningful for your business. And that's kind of probably how things go for a lot of people. I think what we want to know is what stopped them from taking action. And really in that middle section, when they're kind of engaging your website, they've just landed on it, and they didn't bounce right away, right? So these are people who, are definitely somewhat interested. I listed just a couple basic things about why people leave, price value issues, ran into technical difficulty, went with the competitor, didn't like the offer. This is a very basic list. This kind of breaks down where that usually occurs. It's when you're trying to convince them that the offer is for them. So we can break that actually further down. Can I figure out where I'm losing these leads? And I think that's super important, because not only do we identify where they're leaving, we can now actually find out what page they're leaving from. We can actually get that full conversion funnel in front of us now. So using Google Analytics, and we're going back to when I had that comparison with AdWords and Analytics. Analytics is now offering that super package of really marketing tools that I think that you guys are going to get a lot of value from, and I definitely recommend you guys going after. So first really tool that I want to focus on for you guys today, and something you guys can set up as soon as tomorrow, is Google Analytics Gold Paths. And this actually evaluates at what point people leave your conversion funnel, and it's pretty impressive, to be honest with you. To set something up like this, if you're in your Google Analytics dashboard, I just wanted to quickly go over the steps just to show you that it's not super technical, and you can definitely do it. You just go to your admin screen on the top, and then you'd go to the goals section, which is going to be in your view window. And so you select goals, and you're going to be led to a new screen where you can create a new goal. And so once you get to that stage, it's going to be pretty basic from there on. You're going to have 3 steps to kind of go through. First step is you're going to select what kind of goal it is. So you've got a couple options there: revenue, acquisition, inquiry, engagement. Step 2 is going to be naming that goal and really setting up what kind of type, going further down. So we're going to set a destination page in this case, so that thank you page that we talked about earlier. And when you get to this point, you got that option to create that funnel. So make sure to select funnel on, and then fill out that funnel. As you can see here, what I've done is I've wrote something like product page, and I've listed the URL for that product page and the cart page and the checkout info. What this actually allows me now is to track how people are engaging each page in my conversion process, which is really interesting. And so before I want to show you how that looks in Google Analytics, I want to take a little breather here and figure I'd play like a really short game with you guys. And it's called, Find the Leaky Bucket. Because what we're going to call now, every time we're losing people from our conversion funnel, we're calling that a leaky bucket. And you'll see why, because usually this is what it looks like for people who have 100 visitors and only 2 conversions. All drops of water coming out of that bucket is really your conversions. And why are they leaving? Why is this not staying in the bucket? We want to keep these people. We want to make money on them. But this is your enemy. This really is. So leaky bucket is a common term we use because it's a very visual example of how we're losing a lot of people in that setup. But without further ado, once I set up that funnel, that goal funnel in Google Analytics, just in a practical example, this is how it's going to look. It's going to go step by step. And every page that I've set up there is going to be represented. And so I'll see how many people landed on the page. And each step they took in my process, I'm going to see how many people continue down the line. It's, in this case, a smaller example, so I don't want to really overwhelm it with a lot of metrics. And I don't really want to focus on metrics in today's presentation. I wanted to more focus on the qualitative side. But in this case, we have 5 people hit the product screen, and then 1 trickled down all the way to the checkout screen, then they left the checkout screen. So we can verify we had 5 clicks on our product screen. We had one potential lead, and we had 0 conversions. So where is this bucket, leaky bucket? Where is this area that we're losing everybody on? And the winner here is our product screen. So just using this goal funnel, we've been able to analyze where we've lost the most people. We've lost 4 people on that screen so far. So 4 on the product screen, not doing so well. So whatever it is, more than likely, since it's the product screen, we can probably estimate that probably the offer there or the ad that people clicked on might not be lining up with the product that they're viewing. That's just kind of like an overgeneralization. But we can take it further. So really beyond looking at where we lost people, we can start to understand how people engage our website and our certain pages. And that's really called, or goes back to Google Analytics on-page click reporting. So we can actually see how people engage our websites with on-site, on-page click metrics and data. It really looks something like this. So right now what we have here is just a basic t-shirt website, it's sportwear, whatever it is. And so we've got the site and we've got Google Analytics hooked up. And so in that in-page analytic report, we see some interesting things. For one, I can see my most popular product. For instance, it's the first item in that list. It's that general t-shirt. I can also see what's gotten nothing, so no clicks at all. And that's a sign of attention for me at least, right? And I can see some quick page metrics as well. This is kind of beautiful because we've just identified what page we were suffering on. So we identified where we lost a lot of people, but we're also identifying, where people are clicking, where they're not clicking, and how many people are clicking on the specific page. So in this case, it's pretty kind of, a basic example. But for, your businesses, as you guys kind of use these tools, I think the information that you get there, and you can dig up using both of these simple tools, in my opinion, are really kind of going to be a game changer for a lot of you. And the way you would get to that point in Google Analytics is go into that behavior tab, and I have that image in the bottom, and clicking in-page analytics. It'll bring you to this kind of page, and then you can actually select to view the page itself. And so we're getting a lot of analytical data here. We're getting a lot of meaningful data as well. So we can look at those numbers to make some judgments. And really the goal funneling and on-page report equals some critical data for us. So goal funneling shows us what pages are causing us to lose the leads. On-page metrics allow us to see the page behavior and potential problems. So more or less the psychology of the user once they hit our website. Some examples here that I've kind of written out. So if you're talking about the landing page, you have problems with your actual landing page. So high bounce rate could reflect a bad ad, or the text in the ad didn't reflect the page content. Something like contact us page could be that the form is too long, or there's no actual contact info there. A lot of times people actually completely forget to have call to actions and call buttons. Like there wouldn't be a buy button for some of these cases. There wouldn't be a get more info button. And it happens a lot because people simply kind of forget what they're trying to do. They kind of get caught up in all the other stuff. But as you can see some of the other examples here of what potential issues could come up, especially on that checkout page. For for the e-commerce people, if you have any kind of issues and difficulty with checking out, people usually abandon. They're not going to fight to make that. They're not really going to fight to give you money. You need to fight to take their money. And that's usually how it is. But one cool thing is we've identified where people are leaving. We found out what the problem is. Can we do anything to capture those lost leads or these lost leads? And this is where that extension of some tools that we can use comes in and can really change the game for us one more time. Strategies like remarketing are going to come in. And my next is remarketing. So we've looked at that pyramid. We've looked at that mountain where people are coming up and they're falling out of that mountain type image. They're falling out. It's too hard. They don't really want to engage it. They don't like the offer. Maybe one more time to think, and they're leaving your website. We can actually have this little trick called remarketing, and it's a whole new funnel there. As you can see, as they're leaving your original website, we can capture them. And the way that we capture them is by actually enabling a new remarketing tag on the website. So this is actually a separate code altogether. And there's some technical issues with getting it on your website. You do need to have kind of a disclaimer and things like that, but it's totally completely a tool that is used by probably every marketing professional out there, so it's definitely widely used. And remarketing allows you to re-engage those users that left your website with your ads. As you can see, the user would visit the website. When they visit the website, we add a cookie to their basically history. And we track what they've done on the website. So Google Analytics tracks where they went, and we can actually track them. We can set up a specific remarketing list in this case, right? For example, everybody who visited our checkout page, we can have a specific remarketing tag that identifies those people and creates a specific list for those people. We can create a list for people who have already converted on our website. We can create a list for people who left right away. And so we can have these very targeted segments using our remarketing tag here. What happens is, as these people leave your website, they go on those other websites and they start surfing the internet again. And you guys are having probably that aha moment, like, who hasn't been followed around by an ad, right? This is really what this is, and this is going to allow you to re-show your ads to those same people. The thing is, it's highly effective. For that reason, because people simply leave the ad, they leave your website, but they still haven't made their decision. And that remarketing cycle, as you can see here, allows you to re-engage them. And more times than not, if you optimize it properly in a more meaningful way. So you can target them, and depending on what part of the website they left, depending what they viewed on your website, depending what kind of product they might have wanted to buy, you can now target them more specifically and really help them make that decision. Because at the end of the day, everybody believes in their product and service, and if you didn't, you wouldn't be in business. So you think that passion for a lot of the advertisers, passion for a lot of agencies, that people do need my product and service. They do need this, and I just need to help them figure that out. And I think that's a big thing in the industry. So help them figure it out with remarketing. They might have not made that decision right away, but maybe tomorrow they'll be willing to do that when they're surfing the news or looking at something else, and they see that pair of shoes again, right? And we all know how that works. The options of the remarketing funnel is we have an extension to it. There's the traditional search network, which is google.com. That's the easiest way to explain it. There's a display network, which is really millions of websites throughout the world. So everybody who's part of that Google network and display network, it's all those ads you see on all those websites, basically. And we all kind of know what that is. You go on any website right now, you probably have an ad. That's a display network. And they're visual ads. They're really good for branding. And then YouTube. I just threw that in there because a lot of people don't realize that Google is connected to YouTube, and you can get those ads up on YouTube, and you can get them remarketed. So you can get those ads only showing to people who have already been on your website. So you can see how this can be a lot more effective than just showing them a standard ad to somebody you don't even know. Now you're actually showing ads to people you know. And you send those people back, you send those lost people, those lost souls who didn't know what to do in the first time, back to your website, and now you're trying to capture that conversion again. You can have them in this endless cycle, probably forever, as long as your budget is forever. And so you kind of keep cycling them, and you get that conversion. You don't lose, right? It's like a car salesman thing. We kind of go, but it works. Dealerships still exist. And so that's what we really need to focus on. What works is what works. And the funny way to really look at that, in other words, the way this usually plays out, and this is my personal opinion, is this is you, so these are the advertisers. I don't know who you are, but I will retarget you till I find out. And I've actually had a guy almost break down in tears telling me, how can I get these ads to leave me alone? And it's just really funny because it's the same ad keeps coming up every time it goes on YouTube. And being in the field and just being in marketing, I kind of like, well, I could help you, but then I'd be hurting myself. And so, you're going to have to deal with it because we run the internet, really, right? So be nice to us who might be nice to you, and that's really where the advertisers want to hit. So beyond everything we've covered so far, the last things to leave you with is that there are additional ways you can get more conversions beyond everything we've talked about so far. And it has been in a very compact form, so we've talked about things in a very, I think, compact manner. You can talk about this for hours, really, and days, and write books on it, and have entire courses probably in Villanova College that we're going to go to get our MBA. But a few things you can take away as well beyond is Bing, which is one thing that I've seen a lot of my clients, like I said earlier, get a lot of conversions from. You might be surprised, but you want to optimize your conversion rate? Well, go on Bing. You're going to get conversions. In some cases, you're probably going to get more conversions than you got in AdWords. And I've seen that for some of my clients, and the CPAs are lower. So there's a lot to really say there. Don't isolate yourself in that sense. You have nothing to gain by isolating yourself. For people who have products, Google Shopping can become a very powerful platform for you as well. Google Shopping Network works a little bit different than the general Google networks, and really is good for just those quick buys. And then YouTube just in general. the last thing that Larry Kim, our founder, really loves, and it's because he hates those leaky buckets, is click-to-call ads, meaning we completely bypass all those problems we talked about on those landing pages. So if you just can't figure it out, right, you just can't figure out what a good landing page is for your business, and you're like a plumber, a locksmith, I don't know, a doctor, maybe you have like a hotline, and all you care about is phone calls. Those are a tricky thing to track, and they're really tricky to get those type of conversions in. But using Google AdWords, you can have click-to-call campaigns, which only allow phone calls to come. And that way, you can completely bypass the landing page. So these are really those extensions, and there's more to it than that, but just to leave you with that as well, beyond everything else. And the final takeaway for today really is get that relevant traffic, really focus on who's coming to your website, shed all that useless stuff out. And for the SEO guys, you guys might not have such a good way to do that, but for PPC people, we can really target our our audience through AdWords or Bing, and then optimize those current conversions. Don't forget what you have coming in. Find a way to get a better CPA. It might make the same difference as getting those extra 10 conversions, and really focus on that. Focus on what's already coming in, and be qualitative about it. Understand what that means for your business. Lastly, or not so much lastly, but that last step in that funnel is evaluate your landing pages, and don't be afraid to start from scratch. If you've got a Web 1.0 website, just get rid of it. That's the best thing I can suggest to you. And start fresh. Get a really good web designer. Get something really modern. It's going to work. So evaluate those landing pages and take advantage of some of these tools I mentioned today. There's plenty more out there, but to get you started, not to overwhelm you with everything else out there, that's really going to be what you can set up, I think, on a practical level as soon as really today or tomorrow. And that really wraps everything up. Welcome to Conversion Land. Hope this has helped you guys and will help you moving forward, get more conversions, get more meaningful conversions, and hopefully, maybe you guys can come back and let us know how you use this, how it's worked for you. But that's the end of me. I'll sign off, and really, I guess we have time for questions, or you can tweet us as well. So.
Yeah, we've got a couple of questions, actually quite a few, so we'll take a few of them. No worries. So we got a question is just what you were talking about with Bing. So what is it about Bing that makes advertising there maybe more successful than Google?
Oh, I love that question because that's like the easiest question I could probably get today. For real. Bing more successful than AdWords? Well, you have to understand what your target audience is. If we're looking at Bing metrics, we're talking about 30% of the market. So Yahoo and Bing make up about 30% of that market. And when we're talking about 30%, we're talking about 30% of people not on AdWords. Now, depending on your vertical, so we've got to break it down on vertical basis. We're talking about, okay, so there's 70% on Google, but what percent of those 70 people in your vertical are on Google? That metric may be different. So that 30% in Bing and Yahoo might actually be a lot more bigger for your specific vertical. And for some, and I'll give you that insight. So if you are a dealer, so dealerships, if you're in real estate, if you're in the travel industry, you have to simply sign up for Bing right now because these industries perform phenomenally well in Bing based on the graphic or the demographic that exists in Bing. And we have to bring that back to Internet Explorer. We have to bring that back to surprise. Firefox now is running on Bing. And as a matter of fact, a lot of changes have happened with Windows 10 and some of the other industry changes that are bringing Bing really more aggressively in front of people and enhancing that experience for them. So traditionally, it's been the older folk who have more money to spend, by the way. So yeah, they might be kind of using Internet Explorer, but they're spending more money, per the AdWords buyer, and that's a statistic that's been kind of really tossed around. So hopefully, that's kind of some insight for people who are considering Bing.
Interesting. We got another question from Alan. He asked, and this might be a tough one, I don't know, is there an industry standard bounce rate that people need to be aware of that would signal that the ad and or landing page needs to be improved or tweaked?
That's actually a good question. We usually shy away from talking about industry standards. I think each industry is unique, right? And really each offer is unique. So if I'm offering a free dental cleaning, based on the ad. But I would say that traditionally what I've seen through bounce rates, if you're at least at like 60%, and don't hold me to that, but at least as a starting point, you're doing still all right, because it's very difficult to maintain people on the website.
That was the percentage he actually included in the question. So there we go, 60%.
Nice, nice. Yeah, I would stick around 60% as at least a starting point. Okay. But yeah, it could be very different.
Gotcha. A question going back to one of your earlier examples from Sarah. She asked, even though the cruise landing pages were drastically different, it's surprising that the better landing page didn't use PPC site links while the other did, as in the location was displayed. How does this impact impressions for ads being clicked?
Okay, so it won't impact impressions, but it will impact your CTR, your click-through rate. So, you know, it's interesting probably, you know, in terms of, yeah, it might have been ranked or the average position might have been lower. Now, site links don't have that big of an impact on average position in PPC. It is now a new metric that is considered for quality score metrics, so extensions, ad extensions are part of that. That's a new thing that they've added on to that quality score metric, and so not having them doesn't really hurt you, or really kind of doesn't really work in any favor at the moment, I think, drastically for your ad position. And so maybe, you know, that ad that was, you know, above it, yeah, it might have had some extra things on it, some bells and whistles, but that could have come down to some other metrics, and, you know, those site links more or less really to help out with the click-through rate. And so those metrics, see, they're really separate. And if we're going to get, you know, metric focus, we might lose focus on really what's mattering, and the fact that our landing page is better. You know, so I'm not sure if that answers it or not, but, you know.
We'll see. We'll talk with Sarah after.
Good.
But
okay.
One more question. Yeah, I know you talk about click to call. So what about conversions that might not be as trackable, like an in-store visit?
Yeah, and, you know, we were discussing this before the webinar here. We have our, you know, certain limitations. I mean, there might be some creative ways to still track those things and use them as conversions to get somebody to visit. I know that, you know, if you're working within Google Maps, that's really a high driver of in-store visits, and then you have some location extensions as well that could potentially help with that. But you know, haven't traditionally, I'll be honest, I haven't traditionally worked too much with getting conversions tracked in, you know, in-store visits, and it's kind of like that extra outlier there. So that's probably a field that could maybe use a little bit more attention. And I don't see a lot of information about that in general, but if you've got that person in your store, I would just engage them and just, I think, simply get that conversation going with them, finding out how they found you. But, you know, in terms of traditional AdWords metrics or Google Analytics, you'd have to get really creative to get an actual number to that, I think.
Great. Well, I think that's all the time we have. We'll try to answer some of the other questions via email, but thank you everyone for coming. Armin, we really appreciate it. I know you could probably teach a whole semester on this, so thanks for sharing all of your knowledge on us.
No, definitely. Thank you everybody for coming and just putting this together as well. It's been really fun and hopefully, you know, useful, and you know, something you guys can use, everybody really who listened. So.
Yeah, and we will be following up with everyone. We'll send you a copy of the slides and the recording, and I know WordStream is offering a little deeper dive on a free guide about this topic, so we'll send over a link to that as well. But we do this every month, so we'll be doing another one October 15th on content ideation, so we'll send out details for that. But I think that's it. Thank you again, Armin, and thank you for everyone for attending.
Alrighty.
Have a good one. Bye.
See you. Bye-bye.